You ever send that message? And just wait, you took your time. You thought it through, polite. Respectful. Maybe even clever, you press send, and then the silence starts, 10 minutes, nothing, 30, still nothing, an hour passes. Your eyes check the screen again. Still no reply, and then finally. A notification, you open it, just one word, LOL. Or worse, nothing at all, no response. No explanation. No closure, and suddenly, the storm begins, not on the outside, but in your mind. Did I say something wrong? Should I have waited longer? Is she just busy? Or just not interested? We've all been there, that quiet ache. That feeling of invisibility. That strange loss of power, triggered by a single unread message, and you start wondering, what am I doing wrong? But here's the truth that most men never realize, it's not about what you said, it's about what your message made her feel. Most men text logically, they're respectful. Clear. Proper, but emotionally flat, and in today's world, flooded with noise, emojis, attention-seeking, and dopamine hits, a flat message is like a whisper in a thunderstorm. It disappears. She's not ignoring you, she's ignoring the energy, or lack of it, behind your words. Because in texting, like in life, people don't respond to information, they respond to emotion. To vibe, to presence. Let me say that again, people respond to how you make them feel, and this is where Stoic wisdom quietly changes the game. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. You can't control when, or whether, she replies, you can't control how she perceives you, but you can control something far more powerful, your state, your intention, the energy that comes through your words, because a message is not just a string of text, it's a mirror of your mindset. If you send it while feeling anxious, she feels that. If you're hoping it makes her like you, she senses that too. But if you message from a place of calm confidence, from clarity, from stillness, from truth, that energy carries, it draws her in, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're done trying. There's a subtle yet massive difference between a man who texts to win her over, and a man who texts because he's already won over himself. The first is looking for validation, the second is offering presence. Women don't respond to desperation, they respond to signal, emotional signal. Stillness beneath the surface, so instead of asking, how do I get her to reply? Ask this, what am I radiating through this message? Are you texting from pressure? Or from presence? Are you seeking to be chosen, or are you simply showing up as someone already grounded in who he is? Because once you stop chasing her attention, you start attracting her curiosity. You become rare, not because you try harder, but because you carry something she can feel but can't quite define, and that's when the game changes, not just in texting, but in how you live, how you lead, how you show up, because in the end, it's not about messaging strategy. It's about personal gravity, and gravity begins within. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. B1, Marcus Aurelius, let me ask you something real. Why do some messages get ignored? While others pull someone in like gravity, have you ever sent a message that felt thoughtful, polite, respectful, even a little clever? You hit send. And waited, 10 minutes go by, nothing, an hour passes, still nothing, then finally, you get a reply, one word, LOL. Or worse, nothing at all, and in that silence, something tightens in your chest. You start questioning everything. Did I mess up? Was I too eager? Should I have waited longer? Is she losing interest? But when you allow just enough mystery, you invite her to invest, to guess, to imagine, and that emotional participation, that's what forms attachment. Here's a quiet truth, a man who rushes to explain, confess, or fill the silence, is often a man seeking control. He's trying to manage her reaction, avoid rejection, or speed up connection. But real attraction doesn't come from control, it comes from presence. From knowing that your worth isn't in how fast she replies, but in How steady you are while waiting. Texting from anxiety is loud, texting from confidence is quiet. And magnetic, so before you press send, ask yourself, does this message close the loop? Or does it invite her into something deeper? At the end of the day, she doesn't want perfection, she doesn't want performance, she wants feeling, presence. Playfulness. Curiosity, when your texts don't just inform, but invite, don't just talk, but tease, don't just chase, but attract, that's when she starts checking her phone not out of habit, but out of genuine interest, and that's the shift, that's when anticipation becomes attraction, not because you overwhelmed her with effort, but because you gave her just enough light to want to follow the trail. So next time you're about to hit send, remember, leave space. Create curiosity. Let her lean in, because often it's not the words that spark connection, it's the silence between them. Let me ask you something, have you ever sent a compliment, and it felt like it just vanished into thin air? You said something nice, respectful, even kind, you're beautiful. You look amazing today. And what came back? A dry thank you. Or worse, silence. Here's the uncomfortable truth, most compliments men give are instantly forgettable. Why? Because they're too common, too expected, too easy to scroll past. Let's be real, how many times a day does a beautiful woman hear "you're so pretty"? 10. 20. Hundreds, if she's on social media, even if you mean it, you're just another voice in the noise. That's why polite admiration doesn't create attraction, it doesn't make her feel seen, and that's the key. Real compliments aren't about saying more, they're about saying something smarter. Seneca, yes, the Stoic philosopher, once said, praise not what is common, but what is rare. If you praise what's obvious, her looks, her body, her smile, you're blending in with every guy who came before you, but when you notice what's rare, what's unexpected, what's internal, that's when the connection begins. Don't say, you're gorgeous. Instead, try, there's something about the way you see the world. It's refreshing. I don't meet people who think like you do. Feel the difference, one is surface, the other reaches into who she is, not just how she looks, when she shares a childhood memory. A strange fear. A guilty pleasure, don't brush past it, lean in and say, there's a calm, grounded energy in you. I felt it the moment we started talking. It's rare. That's not a line. That's a mirror, you're reflecting back something she didn't even know you noticed, and when that happens, she doesn't just feel flattered, she feels understood. Let me flip the script, when was the last time you received a compliment that stuck, not about your haircut or your watch, but something real, something that made you pause and go, damn. They really saw me. That's what a real compliment does, it doesn't boost your ego, it deepens the moment, and it tells her something about you too, because the way you compliment reveals how you think, it shows that you're not chasing attention, you're drawn to depth. To energy. To essence, and in a world flooded with shallow validation, that is rare, but here's the one rule you can't forget, never compliment to impress, compliment to connect. That means you don't just toss out praise to fill space, you watch, you listen, you wait, until something meaningful appears, then you respond with presence, because every compliment is a fork in the road. It either builds trust, or reminds her you're just another guy saying whatever it takes, but that's not you, you're someone who sees what others miss, you value what's rare, you recognize substance, not just surface, so next time your fingers hover over your phone, ready to type, you're beautiful. Pause, and ask yourself, what does she reveal when she's not trying? What do I see that she doesn't expect anyone to notice? Say that, because when your words reflect something real, something unexpected, something rare, that's when she doesn't just feel complimented, she feels seen, and that's where real connection begins. Let me ask you something personal. When you think back on a moment that really stayed with you, a memory, a message, a person, was it the exact words you remembered, or was it the feeling those words left behind? Because here's the truth, people rarely remember what you say, but they always remember how you made them feel, and when it comes to texting, especially with women, most men miss this completely. they play it safe. Predictable. Polite, how was your day? Hope you're doing well. Just checking in. Harmless. Sure, but unforgettable. Not a chance, what's missing? Isn't effort, it's emotional contrast. The human brain doesn't respond to sameness, it comes alive when there's a shift, between soft and sharp. Light and deep, calm and intense, that's why one message makes her forget her phone, while another keeps her checking it like it holds oxygen. Emotional contrast is what makes your words feel real, because real life doesn't live on one note, it breathes in rhythm, and when your texts reflect that rhythm, they become vivid, magnetic. Let me show you how it works. Let's say you send her something sincere, there's something about the way you think. It's rare. Nice. Thoughtful. But now, add tension, but don't get too proud of yourself. I'm still winning our imaginary debate from last week. See that, you're not just being sweet, you're being playful. Unexpected. You're creating an emotional switch, and that switch is what makes her feel, or flip it. Start with something fun, you have the same taste in music as a retired jazz professor. Then pivot into something real, but that track you sent. It hit harder than I expected. Funny how music does that. You've just added range, and in that range, you stop being a text, and start being a presence. The Stoics understood this too. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging sea falls still around it." But even rocks have cracks, and those cracks, that's where the light gets in, that's where emotion lives. Being grounded doesn't mean being cold, it means knowing how and when to reveal your edges. This isn't manipulation, it's not about performing, it's about giving her something she can feel, because when a conversation shifts, from light to serious, from teasing to tender, it becomes emotionally real, and the human heart remembers rhythm more than words. So here's what you do: after a compliment, throw in something cheeky. After a joke, share something vulnerable. After intensity, pull back and breathe. Texting isn't about staying safe, it's about staying awake, and when your words create emotional contrast, she doesn't just read them, she feels you in them. But here's another truth most men won't admit: what kills attraction faster than anything isn't a bad message, it's panic. Ever sent a text and she didn't reply? Suddenly your fingers itch. Your mind races: did she see it? Should I follow up? Maybe one more message. Stop, because silence isn't your enemy, it's your power, if you know how to use it. Most men rush to fill the quiet, they think silence means failure, so they flood her inbox, chasing certainty. But the Stoics saw it differently. To them, silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. It was presence without need. Think about what Epictetus said: "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so we can listen twice as much as we speak." Apply that to texting. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. Let your message breathe, let it echo in her mind, let her wonder, what's he thinking right now? That wondering, that's dopamine, the same neurochemical that creates desire, because when you leave space, you create curiosity, and curiosity is the beginning of connection. Now, this doesn't mean you ghost, it doesn't mean you withhold, it means you have the discipline to hold tension. Instead of rushing to relieve it, that's not avoidance, that's leadership. Let's say you say something real, she doesn't reply right away, most guys crumble, but the grounded man knows. If she pulls away in the silence, that tells you something. If she leans in, follows up, re-engages, that tells you even more. Silence isn't rejection, it's reflection, and often, it reveals everything. A man who can sit with silence, who doesn't need to fill space to prove his worth, he's rare, because that kind of stillness doesn't come from fear, it comes from self-respect. It's the difference between being a noise and being a presence. So here's your final takeaway. Next time you're texting her, don't just think about what to say, think about what to feel. What kind of rhythm are you creating? Where's the contrast? Where's the space? Because when your message becomes an experience, when your silence carries weight, you stop being just another guy in her inbox, you become the one she feels even when the screen goes dark, and that's when you stop texting for attention, and start speaking to her soul. So, let's get real for a moment. This video, it was never truly about texting, not really. Because texting, like talking, flirting, dating, it's just a reflection, a mirror showing who you are beneath the surface, your clarity, your calm, your chaos, your fear. The real question isn't, what do I say next? It's, what kind of man am I becoming? Each time I choose to say anything at all. That's where the real transformation begins. See, most men are chasing the wrong things, they're chasing replies. Validation. A hit of attention, they want to be liked, answered, reassured, but a grounded man, a stoic man, he shifts the focus inward. He doesn't text to impress, he texts to express, not to get something, but to give something, a feeling, a presence. A spark of depth, and for your words to carry weight, they need three things: curiosity, anticipation, and appreciation. Curiosity makes her lean in, it pulls her into a world that feels unpredictable, playful, alive. Instead of "Hey, how's your day?" you say, "Quick question. Would you rather time travel to the past? Or freeze time in this moment?" Now, she's thinking. She's imagining. She's feeling something. Anticipation is what you leave unsaid, it's the silence after the message, it's letting her wonder what you'll say next. Or when, it's creating space where desire can grow, and appreciation, the rarest of all, that's when you make her feel truly seen. Not just complimented, but understood. You notice something beneath the surface and you name it. You've got this calm edge, like someone who's been through storms and came out clearer. Now you're not just texting, you're connecting. But here's what most men won't admit: that panic you feel when she doesn't reply, that silence that eats away at your confidence, it's not rejection, it's your imagination hijacking your mind. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And it's true. You feel anxious not because she didn't reply, but because you've built a whole story around it. She lost interest. She found someone else. I must have said something wrong. But none of that is real, it's just fear. Disguised as logic. A Stoic doesn't move from fear, he moves from principle, from clarity, from calm. He doesn't need to send a follow-up message out of desperation, he waits. Not out of pride, but out of respect, for himself, for the silence, for what it might reveal, because sometimes, the most powerful move, is stillness. So here's the challenge: next time you feel that itch to text just to get a reply, stop, breathe, ask yourself, is this message a reflection of the man I'm proud to be? Am I speaking to connect? Or to escape my own discomfort? If the answer isn't clear, don't send it, not because you're playing games, but because you're living with intention. That's Stoicism in real time, the discipline to not just react, but to respond, to not chase, but to lead, to create space, and to let that space speak louder than your words. Because here's the truth: your presence, your restraint, your ability to hold silence without fear, that's magnetic, not noise, not clever lines, not a perfect strategy, just this: a man who no longer seeks validation, but chooses expression with intention. That's the shift, that's the standard, that is the Stoic presence she'll never forget. Let's end this the way it began, not with tactics, not with clever lines, but with truth. Because by now, maybe you've realized, this isn't about texting, it never was. Texting is just the mirror, the reflection of something deeper: your values, your mindset, your presence as a man. Every message you send, every pause you hold, every word you choose, it all reveals something: what you tolerate, what you seek, what kind of man you're becoming when no one's watching. Most men still text from fear, they double text when they feel ignored, they explain themselves when they're misunderstood, they sit in silence, refreshing the screen, praying for validation. But that tension in your chest when she doesn't reply, that spiral of doubt in your head, It's not rejection, it's imagination. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca, you're not being rejected, you're reacting to a story you wrote in your own mind. She's losing interest. She found someone else. I must have said something wrong. None of that is truth, it's just fear. Dressed as logic, a grounded man doesn't message to escape discomfort, he doesn't chase noise to avoid silence, he texts with intention, not to get something, but to give something, a moment of curiosity, a breath of anticipation, a gesture of appreciation. You don't message to win her over, you message to reflect your standard. Before you type the next sentence, pause. And ask, does this reflect the man I'm committed to becoming? Because this isn't about her, it's about you, your integrity, your standard, your energy. If you send a message, let it be real, let it carry weight, let it reflect strength, not strategy. And if you don't have anything that feels true, say nothing, not to punish her, but to protect your presence. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. B1. Marcus Aurelius, you were never meant to argue for your worth in someone's inbox, you were meant to embody it, quietly, fully, without explanation. That means, you don't double text for clarity, you don't overthink her silence. You don't reach out to feel better about yourself, you breathe, you ground, you lead, with presence. Let your communication be a reflection of who you are, not a performance for who you hope she sees. So next time your fingers hover over the keyboard, don't ask, will this get a response? Ask, will I respect the man who sent this, tomorrow? Because that's where the shift happens, you stop performing. And start expressing, you stop reacting. And start choosing, you stop chasing. And start becoming, and when you do, you won't just be the man who texts well, you'll be the man whose silence holds more power than other men's paragraphs. You'll be the man she doesn't just remember in the chat. She feels in your absence, that kind of presence, that kind of calm, that kind of certainty. It's rare, it's magnetic, it's stoic. Don't chase connection. Embody it. Let everything else follow.